Have you ever wondered how the betrayal of a close friend could change the fate of an entire nation? Today, we're going to explore one of the most dramatic and impactful stories of ancient Rome, the betrayal of Brutus, how the assassination of Caesar changed Rome forever. In this gripping narrative, you'll see how broken trust and political ambitions triggered a series of events that transformed the Roman Republic into a mighty empire. We'll delve into the motivations and actions of Brutus, a man who faced a dilemma between his friendship with Caesar and his duty to Rome. If you've ever felt the pain of being betrayed by someone you trusted, this story will touch your heart. But we'll also show how these events brought about significant changes, presenting solutions and lessons that we can still apply today. Get ready for a fascinating journey, full of twists and turns and revelations. Stay with us until the end and discover how this epic betrayal shaped the future of one of the greatest civilizations in history. And let's start our video journey, but first make sure you're already subscribed to our channel, because on this channel I'll be bringing you a series of stories full of advice and wisdom every week, and I'm sure you won't want to miss a single video. Imagine a time long ago, in ancient Rome, where the streets were full of people wearing tunics and sandals, and the city was the beating heart of a vast empire. In the midst of all this, there was an extraordinary man called Julius Caesar. He was a brilliant military leader and an astute politician who managed to conquer both lands and hearts with his bravery and intelligence. Julius Caesar began his journey as a courageous general, leading his legions in epic battles. He crossed rivers, climbed mountains, and faced fierce enemies, always coming out victorious. Each victory increased his fame and power, and the people of Rome adored him. They saw Caesar as a hero, someone who could bring glory and wealth to the city. But while the people loved him, not everyone in Rome was happy with Caesar's growing power. Many senators, the men who made the laws and governed the city, began to feel threatened. They were used to sharing power among themselves and didn't like the idea of one man having so much control. These senators feared that Caesar would want to become a king, something that Rome had sworn never to have again. Caesar, for his part, continued to expand his domain. He conquered Gaul, which is where France is today, and made powerful alliances. When he returned to Rome, he crossed the Rubicon, an act that symbolized a point of no return, in direct defiance of the authority of the Senate. This courageous and risky move led to a civil war, where Caesar faced and defeated his opponents. After his victory, Caesar became the supreme leader of Rome. He was given titles such as perpetual dictator, which meant that he had almost absolute powers. He began to make various reforms, trying to improve the lives of the people and stabilize the government. He created new laws, reorganized the way the provinces were governed, and even began planning new conquests. However, the more power Caesar accumulated, the more he aroused distrust and resentment among the senators. They saw his actions as a dangerous path towards tyranny. For these senators, Caesar's changes threatened the very essence of the Roman Republic, a system of government where power was divided to prevent any one person from becoming too powerful. The atmosphere in Rome became tense. Conspiracies began to form in the dark corners of the Senate. Many senators believed that the only way to save Rome was to eliminate Caesar. Among these conspirators was a man Caesar considered a close friend, Brutus. Brutus' betrayal would be a devastating blow and a crucial turning point in Rome's history. And so, the city that had once hailed Caesar as a hero was now divided between those who saw him as a savior and those who feared him as a tyrant. The tragedy that would soon unfold would change Rome forever, marking the end of one era and the beginning of another, where absolute power would bring with it new hopes and dark challenges. It was an ordinary morning in Rome, but the air was charged with tension. Julius Caesar, the man who had transformed the Republic with his victories and reforms, was about to face his darkest destiny. As Caesar made his way to the Senate, a group of senators were plotting in secret. Among them was Brutus, a man whom Caesar considered a close friend, almost like a son. Brutus was not just another senator. He was known for his honor and integrity, qualities that made his participation in the conspiracy all the more surprising. But Brutus believed he was doing what was necessary to save Rome. Influenced by his colleagues and Republican traditions, he was convinced that Caesar needed to be stopped before he became a tyrant. The plan was carefully devised. The conspirators knew that Caesar, despite his growing distrust, still trusted many of the men around him. They chose the Senate as the scene of the attack, a place where Caesar would feel safe and unprepared. That morning, Caesar entered the Senate without suspecting a thing. He was greeted by the senators, who disguised their intentions with smiles and formal greetings. When everyone was assembled, the conspirators moved quickly, surrounding Caesar. One by one, they drew their daggers, and chaos ensued. Caesar tried to defend himself, but he was outnumbered. He was stabbed repeatedly by men he had previously considered allies. The most shocking moment came when Brutus, with a trembling hand, also attacked. The famous phrase, "Even you, Brutus," echoed around the room, symbolizing the deep betrayal. Caesar's pain was not just physical, but emotional, as he realized that someone so close to him had turned against him. The Senate, which had been the scene of many important decisions for Rome, now became the scene of a historic tragedy. Caesar's body fell to the ground, covered in blood, while the senators stood back, shocked at what they had done. The Republic, which they had hoped to save, was now on the brink of collapse. The news of Caesar's assassination spread quickly throughout Rome. The people, who loved him so much, were in shock and despair. The city was plunged into chaos, and violence spread through the streets. The conspiring senators, who believed they had acted for the good of the Republic, soon realized that they had unleashed forces they could not control. Brutus, haunted by his actions, tried to justify his role in the conspiracy. He claimed that he had acted in the name of freedom and the Republic. However, many didn't see it that way. For them, Brutus and the other conspirators were traitors, responsible for the death of a beloved leader. The assassination of Julius Caesar marked the beginning of the end of the Roman Republic. Instead of restoring order and freedom, Caesar's death led to more civil wars and the rise of new ambitious leaders. Octavian, Caesar's great-nephew and heir, emerged as a powerful figure, eventually becoming Rome's first emperor, known as Augustus. Thus, Brutus' betrayal, far from saving the Republic, paved the way for the empire. Rome would never be the same again, and Caesar's story, marked by his dramatic rise and fall, would continue to resonate through the centuries as a tale of ambition, power, and betrayal. The assassination of Julius Caesar triggered a series of events that would change Rome forever. Caesar's death, far from bringing peace and restoring the Republic, plunged Rome into a maelstrom of chaos and violence. The city, once a symbol of order and power, became a battleground where different factions fought for control. Soon after Caesar's death, Rome was gripped by shock and uncertainty. The people, who had admired Caesar so much, were furious and confused. The streets of Rome were filled with riots and protests. Caesar's body was put on public display, and the people mourned the loss of their leader. The atmosphere was one of tension and despair, while rumors and intrigue spread like wildfire. Among the leaders who emerged during this period of uncertainty was Mark Antony, one of Caesar's closest allies. He quickly realized that Caesar's death could be used to his advantage. In a powerful speech at Caesar's funeral, Mark Antony inflamed the passions of the people, denouncing the conspirators and extolling Caesar's virtues. His speech was so convincing that the people, moved by emotion, turned against the conspiring senators, forcing many of them to flee the city. But the story didn't stop there. Octavian, Caesar's great-nephew and adopted heir, also entered the scene. Although young, Octavian was cunning and determined. He began to form alliances and gather support, positioning himself as Caesar's legitimate successor. The rivalry between Octavian and Mark Antony soon became the center of conflict. The result was a series of civil wars that devastated Rome and its territories. On one side were Mark Antony and Cleopatra, the Queen of Egypt, who were united both politically and romantically. On the other side was Octavian, who used his strategic intelligence to win the support of the Senate and the Roman legions. The battles were fierce and decisive. The most famous of them, the Battle of Actium, was a turning point. Octavian, with his superior naval forces, defeated Mark Antony and Cleopatra, consolidating his power. Mark Antony and Cleopatra, seeing no hope, committed suicide, ending their tragic lives. With Octavian's victory, Rome was ready for a new era. He was acclaimed Augustus, the first emperor of Rome, marking the end of the Republic and the beginning of the Roman Empire. Under Augustus' reign, Rome entered a period of peace and prosperity known as the Pax Romana. The empire's borders expanded, and Rome flourished as never before. However, the profound changes that began with Caesar's assassination echoed down the centuries. The transition from a republic to an empire brought with it new structures of power and governance. The figure of the emperor became central, and the Senate, although it still existed, lost much of its power and influence. The ideals of freedom and democracy that underpinned the Roman Republic were replaced by an autocracy, where the emperor had absolute control. Rome, which had previously been ruled by many, was now ruled by a single man. This change had profound implications for Roman culture, politics, and society. Thus, Julius Caesar's betrayal and assassination not only changed the course of Roman history, but also left a lasting legacy that shaped the Western world. The drama, betrayal, and transformation that marked this period continue to fascinate and teach lessons about power, ambition, and the fate of nations. The story of the rise and fall of Julius Caesar, followed by the betrayal of Brutus and the consequent profound changes in ancient Rome, is a narrative full of drama, intrigue, and valuable lessons about power and leadership. These events not only transformed Rome, but also left a lasting impact on world history. The transition from the Republic to the Roman Empire marked the beginning of a new era, where the absolute power of an emperor replaced the shared governance of the Senate. The battles, alliances, and betrayals remind us that history is shaped by human decisions and the complex relationships between individuals. Julius Caesar, Mark Antony, Octavian, and Brutus are figures who, through their actions, defined the fate of one of history's greatest civilizations. We hope you've enjoyed exploring this fascinating part of Roman history with us. If you found this story interesting and want to continue learning more about the past and its lessons for today, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment below telling us what struck you most or your thoughts on the story. We'd love to hear your opinion and ideas. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.